Okay, so in the previous video, we talked about CSS selectors. So that's a way for you to specify a specific element and provide style to it. So before we go to today's video, which is about precedence, in other words, if two selectors apply conflicting styles to the same element, how it's resolved. That's what we're going to talk about today. But before we go to that, let's talk a little bit about performance of selectors. So IDs is stored in a hash map. In other words, ID selection is the fastest. Class is, well, it varies from implementation to implementation, but it's a hash map of a binary tree. That means that the value of the hash map is a binary tree. That means that it is close to ID speed, but it's slower than ID speed because it still has to traverse the binary tree. And for text, it's a B tree traversal. So texts are always the slowest, and it's in magnitudes. Although in reality, it doesn't really matter unless you have billions of tag running. Okay, so there's something you want to keep in mind. ID is the fastest because it's unique and you can just access it directly. Classes are slightly faster, but not slightly slower, but also faster than text. And text is the slowest. Composite rules is always slower than non-composite rule because it will traverse from up down. So if you get what I mean. So it will traverse, so for example if it's a nested one, it will first find the most outer element, and then within the element it runs the other search, etc, etc. Okay. Now back to this video, we will be talking about precedence. In other words, precedence is basically the rules that decide how conflicting styles would be resolved. Basically, okay, the easiest way to show, basically, let's say aqua, right? Aqua is box 2, and this is aqua, this is box 2, okay? So, aqua, let's say we give it a background color of pink, okay? You realize that it's pink, but what if we have two of the same rules? The answer is, for this one, it will become blue. If you follow the series of rules that apply. So there's a bunch of rules to follow before you can figure out which will take precedence over the other. Okay, so we will talk from the lowest priority. That means that if all is being equal, then you will look at this. That means we will talk about lowest priority first, so it's easier to go up the ladder. Okay, so the lowest priority is order. Order, which means this is already demonstrated here. The last in order will always take precedence over the previous ones. This is the last, it will take precedence over this. So everything else is equal. There's for this this element, there's only this two that selects this element. So this two is equal. So the only difference that this two has is that this is later than this. In other words, this is the last in order. So this will take precedence over this. So it will become blue. Okay? So what is important is that this doesn't just apply across a single style sheet. So for this specific video, I added a single extra style sheet, which is first of CSS that comes before this. Okay, so let's add cyan here. Cyan is box 5, which is this box. Okay, you can see the backgrounds is cyan. Okay, you see that box 5 becomes cyan. But if in this, I also add a rule for cyan. So all is equal, right? There's no other conflicting rules, right? And I add it to green. Okay, let's say green. You realize that this, because this is the last in order, you will override this. Okay, see, it becomes green color. Okay. So, the last in order, this is the lowest priority, which is what we call order. Okay, the last in order will always override the previous one if everything else is equal. Okay, so now let's go one level up. It's specificity, which is, okay, I don't really know how to pronounce this, but it's basically how specific your selector is. So this is talking about complex selector. A more specific selector will always override a less specific selector. Okay, what do I mean by that? Okay, so you see this. Okay, I think I ran out of colors, so you start using dot-cat. The dot-cat is box 3. Okay, let me refresh the page to reflect. Okay, so box 3 is this box. Is this tag. Okay, dot-cat. Okay, so let's say we give dot color background of green, and then we give dot-cat. This is more specific, right? Of background blue. Okay, so you realize that this box 3 will become blue. But you see, this could be because this it's later in order, right? Okay, so if I move this up, completely wrong, it will still be blue. I refresh the page, you can see I refresh the page. Okay, so okay, I can even change this to pink. You realize that this will take precedence. This is because this is more specific than this, even though this come in a later order. So specificity doesn't have to be composite. It can be complex also. For example, it can be nested also. For example, if I put dot rate dot cat, right? So okay, dot rate dot dot to be more clear. You will also rewrite. So let me change this to cyan. You realize that it will still become cyan because this is more specific than this. So even though this is even the second one is after this, specificity comes first. So if specificity overrides order, that's why this is of lower priority, this is of higher priority. So this is specificity. A more specific tag will always override a less specific tag. Okay, so let's say we do this dot tag. Okay, so these two have the same level of specificity. This is specificity of 2, this is specificity of 2. In other words, now that they have the same specificity, it will ignore the specificity rule and go to order. Okay, so if I save and refresh, you realize it turns green. So that's how you count specificity. Number of specification per tag. Okay. So now we move on to the next level, which is tag type. So the tag type matters. So the specificity level is this, if you haven't realized from the previous lecture. Okay, so ID will always override a class, and a class will always override a tag. Okay, so what this means is an ID. Okay, let's start with, okay, you can see this box, span box 1. Okay, let me refresh the page. Box 1. It's a span, right? Magenta ID is green, and it's a span. So let's just give this span a background of blue color. Okay. You realize it becomes blue color. And then if I give also a tag, is it red? Yeah, I think it's magenta. So magenta, and I give a background of magenta. Okay, you refresh. You realize that magenta overrides span even though it's before. Okay. So okay. You realize that, okay, even though this is more specific than this, but because this class has higher precedence than tag, class will override tag. See, I refresh. So then if I change this to pink, yeah, it will become pink. So class will always override tag. Okay. Then ID will always override class. So to prove this, can put green, background. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so you refresh, you realize that ID will always override this, no matter how specific it is. So for example, if I add a few more classes, orange, pink, blue. So I make this super specific. Okay, I make this orange, pink, blue. Make this a span. Okay. See, yeah, it will still be green because ID always takes precedence over all of this. See, this is of lower. So if you want it to have this, to show the specificity rule, you have to have the same, you have to take the highest. So this highest is class, this highest is ID. So ID will always be class because this is the highest of this is class. So if you want them to compare, you have to put green. Okay, so in other words, the highest of this is green, but the higher of this is ID, the highest of this is ID. So in other words, this rule no longer apply. It will fall down to specificity. So if you refresh this, it will become pink color because this is more specific than this. And then if you put them in the same level of specificity, for example, green, body. So body span different. You realize that since they have the same level of specificity, let's change this to orange. Okay, you realize this will become orange. If I move this down, it will become green because they have the same level of specificity, they have the same level of tag type, and so it falls back down to order. So if I were to change span to dot orange, you'll realize that okay, let's move this up. You realize that it will change this to blue, change to purple. You realize that the box will become purple because this has class and this doesn't. So you see, this is green. Green is the same, okay, but orange beats the rest. So in other words, this has higher tag precedence because class is more expensive than tag, right? Higher precedence than tag. So this will become purple. See? Okay. So this is the third level. Then next one is the important side. So okay, so for the important tag, it will always override all rules. So important will ignore everything else. As long as it's important, it will always take precedence. In other words, if I add important here, you realize that it become blue. So if I change this to pink, it will become pink. So even if I don't have this specificity, it will still work. If I change this to, let's say, green, yeah, regardless of how specific or how powerful the selector is or what order, important will always take precedence. So this is still not the highest level of precedence. The highest level of precedence is actually inline. So this okay. So it gets a little bit complicated here. Okay, so the thing is, important will override inline unless the inline is also important. Okay, so what is inline? Okay, inline is basically you define a style inline here. In other words, if I put a style, background color goes pink. Yeah, so you realize that if I remove this important, it will become pink because this has higher precedence than everything else here. So regardless of how important all this thing is, it will always. Okay, actually this two is the opposite. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Okay, so inline will always take over unless it's important. So for example, if I put this as important, then it will take over. See, this will become green because this is more important. But if I also add important here, then this will become pink because this is also important. Okay, so this is the the hierarchy of precedence to resolve conflicting rules. So you can use a combination of all this to, you can abuse the combination of this. Okay, one common technique is, for example, mobile friendliness. Okay, more friendliness, we will abuse the specificity rule. For example, we have let's say box one. Okay, box one because we're using box one. Whatever happened? Okay, let me move the style. Okay, so one common way to abuse box is, for example, mobile friendliness. Oops. For example, let's just say magenta is background color green. But for mobile magenta, we want the background color to be pink, to be blue. Okay, so the thing is, right now it's not mobile friendly, so it will appear green. But if our JavaScript decides that this thing is more friendly some way or another, you can add a class to the top level body, and then you realize that it will use this instead of this. So this is how you abuse. This is the ways you can abuse all this kind of stuff. So usually important, well, just don't use important. Important is quite bad. The only reason why you use it is because like for example, you're using bootstrap or something, and you really need to override some dumb thing they did. Then you use important just to override them. And generally, don't write anything inline because it's a bit complicated. The only reason why you write inline is when you're designing emails, because emails don't allow you to attach style sheets. You only can write inline style. Yeah. Okay, so with that, I think that's the end of this video. The next video will cover box model, which is actual part of CSS.